Greetings, I'm Kathy Green with Christian News and Interviews. And my topic this evening is really a question. And the question is, where does Christian rights or religious rights end? And discrimination begin? Because there seems to be a very fine line between discrimination and rights. And so that's what I'm going to address this evening. I have about three short scenarios that I would like to, three short scenarios that I would like to share. And the first one is pertaining to Barronelle Stutzman. Check this out, then I'm going to come back and talk about it. Okay, so a longtime customer and friend of floral artist Barronelle Stutzman asked her to design and create custom floral arrangements for his same-sex ceremony. She politely told him that she couldn't participate in the ceremony because of her religious beliefs, and she referred him to three other local florists. After the customer's partner described the conversation on his Facebook page, other media outlets started to report on the situation. Upon learning about the situation in the media, the Washington State Attorney General filed an unprecedented lawsuit against Barronelle in both her professional and personal capacities, claiming the state law required her to create custom floral art celebrating same-sex ceremonies or give up her wedding business. Shortly after that, the ACLU also sued Barronelle on behalf of the same-sex couple. After this, Barronelle was faced with a barrage of media inquiries, hate mail, and phone calls, and even death threats. The ADF petitioned the Washington Supreme Court to take up Barronelle's case. In February of 2017, the court concluded that the government can force her, and by extension, other creative professionals, to create artistic expression and participate in events with which they disagree. And let me tell you where we are with this right now. This is where we are with it now. She went back and forth to court on this situation. And she finally gave up. She settled for $5,000, which she's going to pay, and she's going to sell her business. Okay, so what is my take on this? Remember, the question is, where does religious freedom end and discrimination begin? Do I view this as a case of discrimination? Actually, even though I'm a born-again Christian, if I were voting on this, I would vote against her. And let me tell you why. Let's say that as a born-again Christian, she views homosexuality as a sin. Obviously, that's what she does. She views it as a sin. Okay, fine and good. So she finds out the two men are about to get married. She doesn't believe in it. It's against her religious beliefs. And so she's not going to design the cake. How does that differ then, if you're talking about sin? If we're talking about sin as Christians, how would that differ from a man who has a wife, but he also has a mistress? Or a woman who has a husband, but she has a girlfriend on the side? or she has a husband, another man on the side. Do you see where I'm going with this? How do you choose one sin but not another? How? So if she's not going to discriminate, or if she's not going to refuse service to a man or a woman who's in adultery or fornication, why would she then turn around and refuse service to two men or to two women if, in fact, she's concerned about sin? Are you following me? Okay, so she lost that case, and instead of constantly spending money fighting it, she settled out of court. She's going to pay them $5,000, and she decided to close her business. Let me pause and say this. My husband owns a business. We couldn't care less. We're born again Christians. We couldn't care less what our customers are doing in their private life. We have customers who are homosexuals. We couldn't care less. As long as their checks don't bounce, as long as their credit cards go through, money is still green. Money still spends. The money spends from a sinner as well as it spends from a saint. So we don't care. And let me tell you what I would care about. If I had evidence that I was dealing with someone who was a pedophile, well, that's different. Because that's not just a sin, that's an actual crime. But am I going to say to my homosexual clients, I'm not going to service you? Absolutely not. I couldn't care less. That's not my job. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that you can't provide service to a homosexual. Nowhere in the Bible does God tell us that you can't design something for a homosexual, that you can't work with a homosexual. And so if you're going to, take homosexuals and push them to the side because of their quote unquote sin, well, then you have to do the same thing again for the adulterers and for the fornicators, because sin is sin. All right, so that's that. So let's move on to the next case. All right, so I'm going to stop the share on this one. Okay, so I'm now going to share my next story. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is another case of someone who, all right, so the owner of Masterpiece Cake Shop, which won a case before the United States Supreme Court recently, was sued for a third time this week. And this is from 2019, okay? Jack Phillips, the Lakewood, Colorado bakery owner who has refused to bake cakes that violate his Christian faith, is being sued again by Autumn Scardina, a transgender woman, for refusing to bake a gender transition cake. Scardina claims it is textbook LGBT discrimination, but Phillips said she is rehashing old claims that hold no merit. Phillips describes himself as an artist who uses cakes as canvas to express ideas and celebrate events. He has insisted that he doesn't want to do something that goes against his faith. He said the cases against him have directly affected his family and business, and he's faced death threats and harassment. Okay, the long and the short of it is this man ended up winning his case. Let me see if I can pull up. He won that case. Let's see if I can pull it up. It's very similar to the woman's case. Okay, let's see. Christian wedding cake designers loses appeal. Is this it? Okay, so what year is this? This is July of 2021. Okay. The United States Appeals Court has ruled against a Christian web designer. Okay, now this is a website designer. In terms of the man that we were just talking about, he won his case. Now we're talking about a web designer. A U.S. appeals court has ruled against a Christian web designer who didn't want to create wedding websites for same-sex couples and sued to challenge Colorado's anti-discrimination law. Another twist in a series of court rulings nationwide about whether businesses denying services to LGBTQ people amounts to bias or freedom of speech. And the 2-1 ruling panel said Colorado had a compelling interest in protecting the dignity interests of members of marginalized groups through the law. So she lost. The anti-discrimination law is the same one that at issue in the case of Colorado baker Jack Phillips that was decided in 2018 by the Supreme Court. And in his case, as I said, he won his case. My only concern is if you're going to deny service to one group because you feel that what they're doing is a sin, why are you not denying it to another group? That's my only concern. And then there's one more that I'm going to share. Okay. One last one I'm going to share. And this one is Santa Maria's Valley Christian Academy sued after refusing to play football team with female player. Okay, so let me explain what's going on here. Well, let me read it. Okay. A Santa Maria school has been accused of sex discrimination after refusing to play football against a rival team with a female player, according to a lawsuit filed Wednesday in federal court. Now, let's see what year. This is September of 2021, so this is very recent. In a complaint filed in the U.S. District Court for the Central District of California, plaintiff Sonia Herrera accused Valley Christian Academy of violating the Title IX law after the private school changed its schedule to avoid playing Cuyama Valley High School in the coming season because her daughter is a member of the team. So just to update you all as to what's going on, this Christian-based private school does not want to play another team because that team has a girl on it. And they don't want their boys getting into the habit of tackling girls. Football is a very violent sport. Okay? Title IX is the federal law that prohibits discrimination based on sex in education programs. VCA is a member of the California Interscholastic Federation, which oversees public and private high school athletics in the state and includes a condition that it must comply with Title IX. The lawsuit alleges 5 causes of action. Okay, let me move down a little bit further. Although no one from the VCA team knew the player was female because her helmet was on for the entire game, Cuyama Valley's roster was publicly available online and included a name associated with a female gendered individual. So there being this, I'm going to follow this one. Okay. So let me say this. In the first cases that I shared with you, the woman who didn't want to design a website for a trans couple, the man and the woman who didn't want to design the cakes because they were against homosexuality. That's one thing. As I said, if you're going to discriminate, and which in my opinion they're doing, against homosexuals, then you have to also discriminate against adulterers and fornicators. So that's that. Now, this is something different. We're talking about young girls playing football, which is one of the most violent sports out there. And she somehow has made it onto a male football team. And there's a Christian school that said, you know what? Our young men are not going to play that team because they would be forced to tackle a girl, and we're not going to have it. Now, in that case, I'm going to follow. I'm actually on their side. When it comes to the cake designer, I'm on the side of the homosexuals. When it comes to what was the other one? It was the website design. I'm on the side of the homosexuals. Give me a break. That's ridiculous. Money is green. That's one thing. But this is something different. You're asking young men to get in there and treat a girl as though she's a boy and to tackle her as though she's a boy. And that is different. And that's the case that I'm going to follow. And so tell me what you think below. I'm going to follow this one for sure because it's interesting. And let me know what you think. And that's my stream for this evening.